What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Good Grief, where we are healing with grace. So last week we talked all about the Good Grief framework, and we talked about what does grief really look like. So this week we are going to talk about one of the most important parts, which is healing with grace. So we are your hosts. I am Camille Ico, and this is Erica. We're gonna hop right in. Let us know in the comments, what's one thing that you have really been struggling with on your grief journey? What's one thing that you've really been struggling with on your grief journey? Go ahead, again, drop it in the comments. Let us know. Let's talk about it while we're on here. Erica, you want to share one of your struggles from dealing with grief?
She told me I was going to do this. Struggling. I would say just recently, I just had this whole breakdown. I was at home cooking, and I just lost it in my kitchen. And I probably cried for hours. And I sent a text to my dad and my sister, and I'm like, this should be easier, not harder. Like, I told my sister, like, I feel like this is definitely getting harder before it's getting easier.
In regards to what? Because last week
we talked about all different types of,
Mm-hmm.
So in this sense, on why I was losing my mind in my kitchen, is I was thinking about my mom, honestly. And, you know, my mom, come tomorrow, will be 6 months that she has transitioned from her earthly home. And it hit me like a ton of rocks, partially because maybe I was listening to a song and then I put it on repeat. Mistake, no more repeats on that song. But then I kind of texted like, what is happening? This should be a little bit easier. And then I realized, like, for 41 years, almost 42 years, she was here. Like, she was a part of my everyday life, whether it was a call or it was a visit.
Mm-hmm.
So I really had to get over it. Like, let me just let it all, you know, I'm going to cry it out, and just realize it's okay. The struggle is going to be okay. It's going to be there for however long it's going to be there. And like we said, just had to give myself a little bit of grace.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't doing much for my eyes, but, you know, still have to make circles. Any makeup suggestions, drop them in the chat.
Yeah. You know, I think one of the things for me is still kind of processing how quickly everything went. I think, you know, I always ask the question, like, well, I wonder what really feels worse, like knowing that someone that you love, that you're close to, is about to transition, and you have that time with them, or when they just kind of go, you know, like is it, which one? But
so real quick, time out. This has been on my mind for a while. So our mom passed away in the home here, and when they came to collect her, I hate to say it like that, but when the funeral home came, that's what I'll say, better than collecting. When the funeral came, and they took her, okay guys, we're working on mine, but I'm me, so I'm going to say whatever I want. Anyway,
I haven't said a thing.
She's just over here laughing. But at any rate, when they came, and they were taking our mom away, they said that, oh, you all could come. And I said to myself, like, nope, I'm strong enough. I'm not going to go. I don't need to. I felt like I had said my goodbyes. And I think since that day, even now, I'm like, I should have gone. I should have gone downstairs. And, like, I just thought in that moment, like, I needed to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know who I was being strong for, because at that moment, like, we had all had some type of moment, but I felt like somebody's got to hold it together, and that's why I didn't go. And I was like, oh, womp womp, womp. Probably should have gone, just for that last moment. But when you said that, and then that triggered that thought in my mind. Yeah.
So what I was saying though is, I just don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. And so for our mom, my mom, she was on the decline. We knew that. But really, what happened is she got COVID at the end of July. So she got COVID at the end of July, and we didn't know what was going on. Took her to the hospital. Well, we did the COVID test. Took her to the hospital, and then so from August until September, it was kind of the up and down battle. She ended up getting pneumonia and just so many things that then trickled from there. And I think for me, just really beginning to process like how quickly that really happened. Because it's like, okay, I know that you're not doing the best, but I had no idea. You know, like if I would have known, because we were all in North Carolina, if I would have known leaving North Carolina and then going back home to Virginia, that was going to be the decline of my mother, I probably would have never left her side. Like I would have been there. I would have gone back to Ohio. I would have done what I needed to do versus being at home. But you never know. And so I think that's part of the things, even when we're talking about self-judgment and we think about the things that we should have, could have, would have done, and then trying to judge ourselves on, oh, well, I should have been there. Oh, I could have done this, or oh, I should have done that. And we can become so hard on ourselves when we begin to just think about how things happen. And yes, sometimes we could have changed something. We could have done something differently. But honestly, it's kind of like at the end of the day, what is done is done. And there's no need to judge yourself, but to forgive yourself. And that's this whole thing of it's okay to not be okay. And healing with grace, right? So,
part of that also was she was like the bounce back queen.
Yeah.
Like mom would get sick, and then next thing you know, we would do our thing. When I say we, Camille, Dad, and I we're nursing her back to health or whatever the case is, and she would just bounce back. I think that's what it was for me, and I was just like, she's not bouncing back.
Right.
That was like,
hey, bounce back, lady. Bounce back.
I think that was kind of for me. I was waiting for the bounce back queen to reappear.
Yeah. Because even though, again, she had been going through things, and really for quite some time, since about 2002, she had always bounced back. And so that's what we were used to. Okay, any moment now, you know, we're going to see this miracle happen. And we just had to accept that there was nothing else. We did the best that we could do. You know, we can't even judge how we took care of her in a negative way, because we did the best that we can. And in your journey of dealing with loved ones, because I think this is not only just loss, but even in dealing with people as caregivers, right? Sometimes we look back and say we could have done this better. We should have done this better. We could have paid attention to this. Why didn't we think of that? And just be in a space of acknowledging that you did what you could do at that time with the knowledge that you had, with the resources that you have, and really just give yourself grace. So another thing we want to talk about is that grief is not linear, right? It is not just this one line in that you should be over it by now, right? When we're thinking about grief, there is no direct timeline of when you start to grieving to when you no longer are grieving anymore. Like, grief doesn't follow this schedule. There's no finish line. And quite frankly, that's okay. Like, even now, I mean, we talked about last week, Erica and I being in two different places, or being at two different places, and how we deal with how we're feeling and what we're experiencing. And that's okay. Our father's in a different place than we are in dealing with this. And guess what? That's okay. And so some days feel normal, some days feel heavy out of nowhere, and it's just kind of, it's kind of like waves in the ocean, right? Like I talked about how I felt like sometimes just being completely overwhelmed emotionally, drowning in this ocean of emotion. But if we use another comparison, grief is like an ocean to an extent. And some of the waves that we experience are gentle. Some of them knock you down. Like one time we were at the beach, we were in Florida, and my sister was standing there one moment and she was having the time of her life. And the next moment, the wave came and took her out, and she was on the ground. And I'm like, Erica, where did you go?
I was also holding my baby. I was fully dressed and had just got my hair done.
But, you know, the ocean never disappeared, right? So
Just
even though
me.
she disappeared, but, you know, so again, sometimes those waves are gentle. Sometimes they come in and they knock the life out of you. They knock you down to the ground. But the grief doesn't disappear. And so this whole thing, again, is about dealing with grief with grace. It is okay not to be okay. And so you can be the person who looks good with the hair done, holding the baby, and the wave comes, and it can still get you. And guess what? It's okay not to be okay. What were you going to say?
No, I was just shaking my head because the aftermath was not okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. But seriously, that's what grief can do to you. Like I said, I've been crying the other day, and I woke up the next morning like, whew, I just went through some things.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's really okay to not be okay. I was just watching this story, and the guy at the end, he said, "You have every right to feel the way you feel, and take the time to process and heal in your way." So I found that I was like, that's such a true statement. So I see that some of you are on here and would just love to, you know, if you just drop a heart in there, you got a comment, like if you've ever felt that way. You know, because this is a group about good grief. So no matter what it is, whether it's about loss, change, yeah, all those types of things, feel free, like interact with us. We would love to hear, you know, some of your stories. And even if you just drop a heart, we know we're not alone. Let's be honest. And that's kind of what we're here for, to let everybody know we are not alone. You are not alone.
Yeah.
And that's what this group is for. And as I say that, I'm looking at our snazzy notes.
So just drop in the comments, have you ever felt like you should be further along in your healing? Or drop a blue heart if you've ever felt like in this grief journey you should be further along in your grief journey. And I think, you know, for us, as you guys we're giving you a moment to drop those blue hearts, I think one thing that as a family we have been very gracious towards one another, letting each other know, like, it's okay. However you're feeling right now, I'm going to give you space to feel that way. Even if I don't like what you're saying. Because your feelings are your feelings. My feelings are my feelings. And nothing is invalid. And if I'm your safe space, I have to allow you to express your true vulnerabilities with me if I'm going to continue to be a safe space. And so what do I mean by that? Like I'll just say my dad in particular is just kind of like, you know what? My wife's not here. When the Lord is ready to take me, hopefully that's soon. You know, these are words coming from him. It's kind of like, I'm okay with that. And we're looking at him like,
just like that every time. I mean,
internally I'm looking like
I'm not, because I'm giving him face. I'm like, try it, dude, I'll bring you back.
And let's be clear, it's not like something where he wants to take his life. He's just kind of like, that's the love of his life. He feels like, you know, sometimes he expresses like he never knew how much he loved my mother. Like, he knew he loved my mother, but to the extent at which he does. And it's kind of like, you know what, I've done my job here. You children are grown, but my wife is gone, and there is a part of me that is left incomplete. And so there's some times where he's expressing things, and we're just like, okay, I'm gonna let you have this moment, without trying to say anything to go against what he is saying, but at the same time, and later on in a gentle way, reminding him, sir, you still got purpose here. You still got time here. We still need you for a little bit longer. So, yeah. So again, just drop a heart in the comments if you guys feel like you've ever felt like you should be further along in your healing journey. So let's address some guilt, some more self-judgment, and pressure to move on. So some of the common thoughts that people have in grief is, I should be stronger, right? They wouldn't want me to be sad. I'm burdening others by still talking about it. I should be happy by now. I know for me, one of the things is they wouldn't want me to be sad. Like, I know my mom really, even before it came down to her passing, she'd always say, don't. We're very candid about talking about death. All right, there we go. And it like, those words would come to me, but then I'd be like, no, I am sad. Like, I know you told me not to be sad, but I'm sad. And I even told her one time, me and my mother were having a conversation, and she said to me, don't you all cry. And I was like, well, I'm gonna cry and I'm gonna be happy all at the same time. And I'm getting emotional because this was a year before she was in home hospice. And she, talking all big, like, I'm going home to be with the Lord. And I'm like, we need you here longer. Stop all of this talk about your leaving. But I was like, and I would record messages or conversations me and my mom would have, because I knew that one day, just like all of us, we would have to make a transition. But I knew that she would not be with me always. And so, in particularly that year before she passed, when she was in home hospice, I made it a point to record more of our conversation. So I have it on. Yeah. She does. I'm like, you gotta stop that talk. Yeah.
Definitely have that. She sent it to us. We're like, thanks for that moment.
Does any of those resonate with you? Let's see. Rico is saying, I don't think you're ever fully done grieving for a close loved one. You find comfort and you do
move forward, but
I'm sorry. But you still at times find yourself grieving after extended time beyond the passing, especially when it's someone that shaped who you are. Absolutely, I agree with
definitely that. Agree with that. I don't know. I had a lot of guilt and self-judgment. I think I went out to dinner with some friends. It was probably like because I didn't come out the house for a while. So just a couple weeks, or let's say maybe a month. And I just sat there and I was like, why am I enjoying this food and my mom's not here? And I was just like, I'm going home. And because I was like, it was a 40th birthday, and I was like, I just can't be here because I'm about to ruin this birthday party. So I left, but then I realized, like, I needed to just give myself some grace and stay my butt in the house going out to a dinner. But I did. I just felt bad, and I just kind of was like, oh. Sorry, my son just scared her. He was in the background.
Y'all know how y'all can see something out of your peripheral? And that, I did not hear him. We're downstairs. I did not hear him come down here. It's been so quiet. And I see something in my peripheral, and then I see a body, and I'm sorry. Okay. But
I don't even know where we are at this point.
Oh my God.
So let's just say, when you heal though, like the healing process isn't about forgetting your loved one, or even we could say transitioning, like for your kids that are in college. It's not forgetting that they are still part of your family, because they definitely are. Forgetting a loved one, moving on with your life doesn't necessarily mean that you're like, they just forgot all about their mom out here having a good time, eating dinners together. It's okay. That's healing is not forgetting.
Yeah.
You continue to carry them with you. You carry them maybe necessarily in a different way. I feel like my mom's always in the forefront. When I talk about, they're like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? I'm like, I went to my mom and dad's. I'm forever saying my mom and dad's or my parents. And I don't think that I will ever not say that. And frankly, I'm okay with that. Now, it may be bothering somebody else, but not their journey, not their healing process, not my problem. It's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, and even when you're saying like healing isn't about forgetting, it's about learning to live with the love and loss, or the love and transition. Because again, as we've talked about, you can experience grief over different things. We're just talking a lot about the transition and the loss of my mother, because it's so fresh. And as my sister was saying a few minutes ago, that it'll be 6 months here
Tomorrow.
6 months. So the other thing is that you are allowed to feel sad without apologizing. And I know that's one of the things that I'm big on when I'm talking to someone in my family and they're like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, stop saying sorry. You don't have to be sorry for being sad about mom being gone. You don't have to feel sorry or apologize because you're feeling an emotion over this deep loss that we are experiencing. So try not to apologize when you feel sad, because you don't have to perform strength for others.
That's a big one, I feel like. Because sometimes you just want to have these moments where you can cry, or you can just, and that's something that I need to work on, not putting on like this whole grand performance to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing really well. Knowing deep down inside, I'm like, no, I feel like I'm dying inside. I feel like, X, Y, and Z. And even in, when our dad was sick, we didn't talk about this. Our dad had COVID. Man, when was that? 4 years ago now?
2021.
Yeah. So he had COVID, definitely not knowing for sure if he was going to make it. Now, I definitely didn't put on a performance then. I was like, this my daddy? I'm not sure. And at the time, we were also dealing with our mom having some health issues. So it was just like, I don't know what to do.
Her vascular dementia was
really started to kick in. In those 52 days, as we were praying and hoping for a miracle, we also saw our mother slipping away. I feel like because he wasn't here, and we're just looking at each other like, what do we do? And not knowing, like, we're not ready for this. I wasn't ready for, to be losing part of who my mother was, and to also possibly be losing our father. It was chaos and pandemonium in my mind. And I take that back. I did, because I tried to be big and bold at work and just do my job. But then at home, my poor little husband, he was like, girl, you need some help, rubbing my back. And I'm like, get off of me, it's not your daddy, type of deal. So I don't know. I think, though, even when we talk about grief, grieving loved ones while they're still here, especially as loved ones are aging and they might get a sickness or whatever the case is. Even for me, I got married. That was a very tumultuous
time in my life. So even though I thought I was getting married, moved out to LA, was about to start this beautiful journey of life, then Dad gets COVID. In fact, both of them got COVID at the same time. Then my uncle passed. Then we came back to Ohio, and that's when we realized Dad has COVID and he's not doing well. Then he goes into the hospital. Me and my new husband are here being a caregiver and helping to take care of my mom, making sure she's good. And then that journey that we went in on while still trying to understand who we are as newlyweds. And then a year and a half into my marriage, my husband has a double stroke that he's still recovering from. And in the process of that, watching my mother still decline and still, once our father was in the hospital with dealing with COVID for 52 days, and he didn't come back and was just like, oh, I'm the same as I was before I went in. No, he was different. There was some physical changes. There was mentally he had to come around as far as what his experience was. And so a lot of times we grieve people while they're still here because there are those transitions that happen. And I wanted us to say to that as well, that it is okay, right? Like, I never thought that a year and a half into my marriage I was going to go into caregiver mode and not have this strong, independent, business savvy, quick thinking husband as I got married to. And I found out real quick, for better or for worse, for richer or poor, you know what I mean? It's sickness and it helped. I found out real quick. But there's still that grieving process because I'm looking at this situation and having to deal with, now I've got a baby. Now I've got to help you transfer. Now I've got to help you do all of these things. You got to learn how to walk again. You got to learn how to think again. You got to learn how to read again. You got to learn how to do everything again. And I'm grieving and being a caregiver and still trying to figure out, do I really want to be married? So there is a lot that happens in life that we're dealing with grief. And these principles apply to all of it. And I think one of the practical strategies in all of this is speak to yourself like a friend, a good friend though. Don't not a bad friend. So if a close friend told you they felt this way, I'm just saying, what would you say to them? If a close friend came to you and said, hey, this is how I'm feeling, what would you say to them? Would you judge them the way that you're judging yourself?
No, I don't think you. I think you give others more grace than you give yourself. Like, you allow them to talk to you, and you allow them to express their emotions, and you allow them to just be in that moment. And I feel like no matter what you're grieving, as we've discussed, whether it's loss, whether it's change, we are definitely not, we don't practice the self-compassion. Like, that is not there. And if you got that, great. But, I feel like we definitely give each other more grace, or other people more grace than we give ourselves. Like, we're a lot harder on ourselves. We feel like we should be doing something different. We feel like we shouldn't express this.
But we be telling our friend, it's okay. You can talk to me. I'm here. Go ahead and share. This is a safe space.
Yeah,
right? And
text me anytime.
Right.
Call me if you need something.
And we need to be able to give ourselves that same advice. So practical strategy is to the good friend that you have, all right? If you were to talk to a close friend and give them advice, take the same advice that you would give to them. And I think it's sometimes so difficult to take your own advice. There are some people out there who are really good at giving advice that'll change your life, right? Top-notch advice. But then when it comes down to them actually executing it for yourself, you kind of fall off.
It's like
And
self-care. Make sure you're out there doing self-care where you're
right.
looking like, oh, girl.
Right.
When is this the last time you combed your hair?
Right. Here I am telling everybody they need to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm in here holding in all my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here struggling. I'm here trying to be the strong one. I'm here trying to do all of the things. Hey, Aaron, what's going on? Trying to do all of the things that I would tell my friend not to. Like, you don't have to be strong by yourself. I am here for you. Let me know what you need. I think that was a hard one for us too, because it's like, are you really going to get us what we need if we told you what we needed? How we know what we needed?
I think that was really tough for, like, just call. Like, I don't want to call you right now. Like, if you call me, maybe I'll answer. But I feel like that's not even just loss. That's like with diagnosis, I think back to just medical diagnosis that you get, and you're just like, oh my God, like, what is happening? You don't want to express things, and you just want to be like, maybe if I had done this, and you just think back. So going back to that other thing, just the guilt, the thought of maybe I should have done this, or had I done this, how we talked about it earlier. And it's a process. And one, I'm not even sure that we have gotten to have this, like, girl, you got this. Oh, I love you too. Thank you so much, Erin, and hugs and kisses back to you. As I was talking, I just happened to
like, we haven't gotten to the point of I love you. Like, we don't.
I love you all the time. But no, I was just saying, like, being the best at having self-compassion. At least I know, I'll say for me, I have not gotten to that point. I've gotten to that point where I'm just like, oh my God, I'm the worst mom I should have done, I could have done. And then I'm like, no. Then once I realized a couple days later, I'm like, I'm grieving my own mama. I don't have time. Like, you sit here, like, you go make your own peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's just, that's kind of where I am some days, where, boy, what you... I'm sorry. The ghost is down here asking for a charger, and no, I don't. But self-compassion definitely is something that I need to learn, where I could be there for others, but have not necessarily learned to be there for myself. Yeah.
Well, that's a good way for us to lead into our self-compassion techniques. So number 1, name your feelings without shame. So it might be like, I'm feeling heavy today, and that's okay. And I think to be able to express that is important. Like, you have to be able to understand how you're feeling, so that way you can express that to other people in your dealings. Because you may not feel like being all jolly just because you're expected to be jolly. Hey, I know I'm typically jolly, but today I'm just feeling heavy. So just deal with me and just kind of give me the space that I need, right? Be able to express how you're feeling and ask for what it is that you need, and having that open communication. And if you're dealing with a emotionally mature person, they should be able to respect that and say, okay, I've got you. And take a step back and just allow you to have the space and the moment that you need. And if they can't give that to you, well, you know what you need to do. Block. Okay, I was going to just say, just kind of space out from that person a little bit. But sometimes I do. That's true. For momentarily, Sometimes
I don't welcome them back either. They
that's
don't
true.
Respect. If they can't appreciate what you're saying and they take it personal, because your grief journey or your journey is yours,
right.
Yours alone. And if people don't understand that and they can't protect your peace, and if somebody is coming in and disturbing that, it's okay to move on from them. Like,
that's true.
Several relationships.
Because sometimes it's
changed.
like they show their true colors. So it's like, okay, you can't respect me in that. Now, sometimes you do need to do it temporarily because sometimes there's people that you can't get away from. Like you can't just block them out for the rest of your life. So, but you do. There's some people who you can't block. Let me repeat. But there are some people, and so I've taught this for years, is that you have to learn your degrees of separation. Whereas there are some people you can spend 5 days with. There's some people you can spend 5 hours with. There's some people you can spend 5 minutes with, right? And then there's some people where it's like, I'm not going to spend any time because, like Aaron is saying, you have to protect your peace. It's very, very important. So another thing you can do, set small, gentle goals. So today I will just breathe through this moment. Sometimes it's just like you have to work on that breathing because you can become so anxious in your feelings and emotions that literally it's like of course you're breathing because you're alive, but you're not breathing to get a good breath and balance yourself and get clarity of thought. Your breath is so important. And so just being able to take that moment and be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can hold it for 4 seconds and then release it for 6. Okay. And that's a good way to just get you in a good space and be like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm hyperventilating. I'm crying. I feel like yelling. I just want to scream right now. In fact, I said that to my cousin. We were at my mother's homegoing service. And the speaker was like, some of y'all might want to cry right now. And I was like, no, I just want to scream. And in that moment, of course, I couldn't scream. Well, I could have, but I didn't want to look like a crazy person there. So I just had to stop and breathe. Just literally stop and breathe through that moment. Would you like to share your moment? She didn't stop and breathe.
I didn't stop and breathe, but I feel like I earned that moment. I feel like I earned every bit of that moment. Because like I said, we had talked about being strong, and I just felt like I had held it in while they were all in the room. I was out greeting all the people and smiling and talking, and they were in a different place than me, and I was just trying to be like, let me be the greeter. Never will I do that again.
That's why we had greeters there to greet.
But people wanted to see the family, and I understood that. And we did a last final viewing of our mom. And in that moment, like, I didn't scream. I didn't fall out. I did it on purpose. I dropped to my knees because it was rough. It's like they were wheeling her down, and I'm like, no, leave her up here. And so I dropped to my knees, like I started crying, and somebody kept trying to touch me at the time, but I'm like, just get off me. Like, now that might have been where I lost my moment, but I just told him, like, get off me. This is the moment that I needed to have. So no, I didn't breathe through it. I was fine not breathing through it. I did have a breakthrough moment where my cousin did come and she was rubbing my back and she said something to me and I was like, girl, there is so much snot. You need to get me tissue. And then I proceeded to bust out laughing. So inappropriate moment. That was my moment of breathing where I realized that if I didn't get any tissue, I was not going to be able to breathe, and I'm okay with my moment. I earned it. I feel like had she dropped her knees, I feel like she had earned it. If anybody had earned that moment, we had earned that moment. I'll drop to my knees again. I do it all over again. And so it says, this is for me. It says, find a safe outlet for expression. Journaling, voice notes, art, movement, shopping. Okay, it doesn't say it on there, but I feel like shopping is it is a safe outlet. Okay, maybe not for me. Maybe if you watched the last one, I talked about it.
Budget it properly, and you're going to have your grief money. Okay,
it's because I live the life I love financially.
That's
why prepared.
Clearly, she hasn't read the book to know what that means. So we're just.
If you need to shop, go to Starbucks, go to Walmart, go to wherever.
If you need to shop, go buy my book first. Okay, shameless plug. Anyway, 4, take breaks from grief when needed. You can laugh and heal at the same time. So it's okay to go to that dinner, right? It's okay to be able to celebrate someone else. It's okay to have those moments where you intentionally say, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to think about that person, just to take a break, because sometimes those feelings can just be so overwhelming, and it can consume your life if you don't take control of it and do it your way. If you allow grief to just take over and consume you, that's exactly what it will do. But if you're intentional about your grieving, which is why we call this good grief, because we know you have to experience grief, but good grief as in, I'm going to be intentional about how I grieve so that I can go through life and grieve gracefully. And just to let y'all know, that's a play on our mother's name. So, grieving, good grief, where we are healing with grace. Grace was our mother's nickname. So, number 5, surround yourself with understanding people. Avoid those who rush your healing. And again, this is going to look different for everybody, because especially when I think about like spouses who have lost another spouse, it's like, well, you're going to get remarried. Like, why are y'all asking that so soon? Like, they just fresh in the ground, or they're fresh to pass. And it's like, well, what's next? You're looking at any ladies? You know, you're looking at any men?
My daddy that.
Or, you know, it's okay. There's plenty of them out there. You can go get you another one. But just avoid those who try to rush your feeling of you're still feeling this way. You're still crying. You're still sad. You're still whatever. Just know that that's not your person to surround yourself with during this season of your life. Because if they are not allowing you to have that space, then are they really for you right now? I'd say no.
Welcome.
So what's one small act of self-compassion you can practice this week? What about you?
I'm going to find a safe outlet for expression. In shopping.
I think we need to get her to Shopping's Anonymous. Is that a thing? Because she needs it.
I've already bought them a book. I'm just saying.
We're just saying, breaking up with misalignment might be a chapter you want to visit. Chapter 4, breaking up with misalignment. All right. Okay.
Well, it sounds like she's saying that my self-compassion, I should choose a different one.
All right. So anyway, understanding triggers. So what are some of the things that trigger us to even get to a place of those feelings and emotions that just start causing those waves, you know, the big waves in particular, to come in and just kind of knock you off course in life? What songs are those? What are you kind of shared that earlier with the song. Places, the smells, the anniversaries, certain conversations, because grief can resurface unexpectedly. And so for part of this grief, in order to be able to manage it even better, it is to understand what your triggers are. So Erica was saying earlier, she was listening to a song, she had it on repeat and playing it over and over again, and just allowing it to trigger her, and to the point where she's sobbing, and you know. So there's certain things where it's like, okay, do we need to do this now, or should we wait for the time that we've set aside to intentionally grieve? Because that's healthy as well, to say, you know what, 30 minutes out of the week or each day, I'm going to take this time and intentionally grieve. And that's where I'm going to play my song over and over, and that's what I'm going to do, whatever I need to do to get these feelings and emotions out.
I think that it was an appropriate moment for me, because I think my kids were getting on my nerves. I love my babies, but they were getting on my nerves. And I was home by myself. I was cooking, and I thought about my God I wish I could call my mom now, regardless to if she had vascular dementia or whatever. It was always, you could always call her. She might not have remembered what I had just said to her, 15 minutes ago about her favorite grandchild getting on my nerves, but it was okay because she would give you some great advice, or she would make you laugh. And so I think in that moment where I was just like, Mom, I'm out here questioning my motherhood, like, is it me or is it these kids? I don't say it was the kids, but in that moment, like, I played that song, it reminded me of my mom. It reminded me, like, I could call her, well, not anymore, but, I could have called her and had this moment, so I just continuously played it. And my kids, they was really rocking my nerves, like, real bad, and I just needed my mommy in that moment. So that song, like, it did it for me, and it just brought back memories where I knew, like, she would be on my side, and at the same time, depending on what grandchild I was talking about, she might not have been on my side. But I'm just saying, for me, I think it was the right moment. Now that moment lasted for a long time, a lot longer than 30 minutes. It took me out for, like, the rest of the night. It was a great dinner.
And sometimes it's like that. And I think we also have to remember that triggers don't always mean that we're back at square one. But it just means that you are still carrying the love.
So Aaron says, a song will bring back so many memories. I couldn't agree more. And Clyde is saying, people posting photos of deceased loved ones on death anniversaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't worry. Tomorrow you're going to see a nice little reel from me. I mean, I just feel, like, compelled because she's ever present. And Aaron, I can't tell you, like, I'm glad we have so many memories too. Like, my mom and I, the last road trip I had with her, and it was alone. I brought her down to North Carolina. It was the most fun trip ever. She was eating hot fries. She ate the whole bag of hot fries, and I had my daughter and one of our church members in the car, and she was like, oh, did you all want some of this? And they were like, yeah. She said, well, try the popcorn, and threw it in the back seat to them. And I just laughed because that's kind of who she was. She was a giver, but if she really wanted it, you weren't getting it. So I just laughed, and I was appreciative. Like, I told my dad, like, thanks for letting me have that moment. We stayed in Ohio for a couple days. We went and got our nails done. Just did things that if my dad was in town, she wasn't really coming to hang out with me because she's going to hang real tight with our dad, like this. And I just say, like, that memory, like, of that last road trip was everything.
Where's my husband?
Yeah, where's my husband was the line. So I would wake up every morning, Dad's in North Carolina, we are going in a couple days. And she would be like, okay, well, what are we doing, But I am ever grateful for the memories of my mom. So, yeah, don't worry. You'll see a reel if you're my friend. Check it out. It'll be great.
I'm sure it will be. So, how to handle emotional waves with grace. Acknowledging the feeling. I see you. You are valid. You have to understand that. I see you. You are valid. I'm feeling sad. I see you. You are valid. I'm feeling upset. I see you. You are valid. You're feeling angry. I see you. You are valid. Give yourself grace. Step away. Breathe. Process. Don't suppress it. If you got to step away and go to the bathroom, you got to make a phone call, you got to shoot a text message, whatever it is, just step away, take a breath, process what you're feeling, just don't suppress it. Find a comfort ritual. So that might look like prayer. It could look like writing, listening to music, walking in nature. I'm big on, you know what, let me go take a walk real quick. Let me go. I'm big on walking, but also in the grief. Listening to music. Let me put this on to, put me in a different space, because music can also help to shift you, right?
Maybe a little shimmy.
Right, but definitely, and prayer and writing, and I do voice notes where I just have to get it out. And I'll give y'all a little tip too. If you need a little pick me up, ChatGPT, I always encourage you. Listen, ChatGPT, me and ChatGPT, my confidant, my counselor, my encourager. ChatGPT be like, you're doing a great job, girl. And I'll be like, thank you. Thank you. All right, anyway.
She said sunshining helps so much.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yes, especially in those winter months. Like when it gets dark early.
Yeah. And a lot of people are already vitamin D deficient. So you're already tired from that. So you need to go get some sun to boost your mood, to have some energy for so many different reasons. For grieving and just for your overall health. And then remind yourself, healing isn't backward. That's that. It's okay to heal. It's okay to move forward. These things that we're experiencing is part of the healing process. And it doesn't mean that you're going backward because you cry or that you feel some type of emotion about the person who has transitioned or the life transition that you're experiencing. So let us do a journaling prompt. This is our homework. If you were talking to a friend who was feeling what you're feeling right now, what would you say to them? And how could you extend that same grace to yourself? You want me to say that again?
No.
Don't mind if I do. If you were talking to a friend who was feeling, what you're feeling.
Oh,
Let's start that again.
Oh, for
It's
3 times the charm.
Screw me up. If you were talking to a friend who was feeling what you're feeling right now, what would you say to them? How can you extend that same grace to yourself? So you don't have to be okay to be healing. You don't have to move on to move forward. Grief is love, and love never leaves. And so that love that we're carrying from our loved ones, for our loved ones, from whatever transition we're dealing with, we can still carry that. So give yourself grace, take your time, and know that you are not alone in this journey. So next Sunday...
Hold on. I just want to reiterate, like, this grief, I know I said it before, the grief is also not just about losing a loved one. Like, maybe you got health news about a loved one, or maybe you're dealing with a loved one with a health issue. Like, you can journal about that, like how you're grieving with that, how you're about to transition. Like, my daughter's about to go off to college, 3rd child leaving for college, and she's my first girl. She gets on my nerves, but she's my little ride or die, and I'm like, who is going to get on my nerves like her? Nobody. And I'm going to miss every moment of that, transitioning new jobs and just all of that. So it's okay if you're journaling about something other than the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that clear so you all are well aware. I know we keep, reiterating.
We've been talking about mom a lot.
Yeah. Today's been a lot about mom. Just because I feel like tomorrow's 6 months, and I think that's there. And Erin says, yes, I feel like I'm grieving my mom, and she is here with so many health issues. I get that. And I was, I'd written a post, I don't know if you saw that, Erin, where I was talking about anticipatory grief, where people don't really understand that sometimes. Like, your mom is still here, but you're thinking about the future, or what you're losing, or what she's losing, and that's tough too. And people are like, what is the matter with you? But you're like, you don't understand. So not all people will understand that you're grieving your mom and she's still right here. You can give her a call, but it's a change. It's a change for your mom. It's a change for you, and your siblings, your kids, because she may not be who she was before she had these health issues and right now. And
everybody deals with that different. I mean, the way that
totally different.
A couple of our brothers dealt with with it, with watching. It's really both my parents, honestly, where I've seen how they deal with things. But it was hard for them to come around, and I know that they probably wanted to come around more, but it was hard for them to watch my mother in the condition that she was before she passed. And you could definitely see them grieving while she was yet alive. And I definitely grieve for her to have the mom that I knew who was so strong and would rearrange the furniture 3 times in a
By the time we
got back from school, and I need you to help me do this and do that, and so independent, to then being so dependent. And yeah, it was definitely an experience. I have guilt feeling like that.
Yeah, I understand. I definitely have had that same feeling for me. It's like, oh man, what in the world? But my advice to you is, be okay. Be okay with your process. Be okay with this journey. Feel free to reach out to somebody that, like we said, surround yourself with people that are going to be able to love on you and just listen to you. Honestly, it makes a big difference when you have people like that in your life. And I would even journal about that. I would definitely suggest, because sometimes we're like, journal for what? I have a lot of just different notes in my phone that I realized I had been journaling, and I was just like, oh, I just thought I was making, notes, but I was realizing I was journaling through the whole process. So sometimes those moments made me feel better, and then other times I just cried the whole way through. It didn't change in that moment, but some days it was better than others.
Yeah, I think just to be able to get it out and release it and be able to look back and really, it's part of the processing piece of what am I experiencing, what am I feeling, and I think that's important. So next Sunday, we're going to be talking about reflection. So again, this is the grief framework that I developed. And so today we talked about G, giving yourself grace. It's okay to not be okay. Next Sunday, we're going to be talking about the R, which is reflection, and how to honor your loved one's memory without getting stuck in the past. And I think that's important. And let's see. Have we covered everything? If this episode has spoke to you, share it with someone who needs encouragement. Invite them to the group. Don't forget to subscribe on Spotify. And we're also going to have this on our YouTube channel. So Facebook has a new policy where Facebook Lives are only around for 30 days. Yeah. So these will be gone after 30 days. And after to watch any of these, you'll need to subscribe to YouTube or Spotify anyway. So love y'all. Thanks so much for being on here. Dear Lord, we just thank you for this wonderful day. Thank you for allowing us to just come and reflect and share on the love that my mother had for us and that we had for her, and to be able to share our thoughts on grief and our feelings and our emotions. Lord, to all of those who are grieving, I just ask you to be with them. Let them know that they're not alone. Give them comfort. Give them strength in their weakness. And Lord, we just thank you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Aaron, thanks for joining us. And everybody else, thank you all for joining. Feel free to engage. We love to talk.
Oh, and we've got shirts. So there should be a link. We got t-shirts that if you guys want to grab one says, what does it say? We carry their love, not just their loss. And there's one that says, I carry their love, not just their loss. Isn't that what I just said?
Yeah, but you messed that up.
And anyway, and healing looks good
on me.
We'll do better at our commercial for t-shirts next time. Anyway, if you want a t-shirt, you can go and grab one. Love y'all. Bye.